You're listening to How to Drink Less, and I'm your host, Adriana Cloud. Whether your goal is to cut back, take a break, or say goodbye to alcohol for good, this podcast will help you stop drinking on autopilot, learn how to manage cravings, and feel fully in control around alcohol. It's easier than you think. Listen on to find out how. Hey everyone, thank you for joining me for another episode. We are into December now, but I still have Thanksgiving on my mind because Thanksgiving was just last week. And in last week's episode, we talked about why gratitude alone cannot help you to change your drinking. And I also talked about how not to weaponize gratitude to beat yourself up. And today I want to talk about gratitude for where you've been, and in particular, gratitude for the past version of you who learned to reach for alcohol in certain situations. I know that might sound strange because most people who are trying to cut back are more likely to hate their past selves because they're ashamed of their past behavior. When I was trying to quit drinking, I was so embarrassed of all the stupid things that I had done while I was drunk. And I couldn't stop berating myself for all my terrible choices. I told myself that I should have known better, I should have been stronger, I should have had more willpower, I should have done something about my drinking way sooner. I promise you, I felt exactly zero gratitude for my past self and her decisions. So if me proposing that you find some gratitude for your past self makes you raise an eyebrow, I get it. But here's what I want to suggest to you. Your past self was doing their best with the tools that they had. Your past self was trying to help you survive. People don't reach for alcohol because they're weak. They reach for alcohol because they're resourceful. Before alcohol ever became a problem, it was a solution to a problem. It was doing something useful for you. Maybe it helped you to quiet anxiety or turn down the noise in your brain. Maybe it helped you to feel connected to your friend group and to feel like you belong because you're all doing the same thing. Maybe it helped you to take the edge off grief or loneliness, or maybe it helped you to ease chronic pain and be able to fall asleep. Maybe a few glasses of wine is how you learned to mark the end of a long day and to give yourself permission to relax and finally stop being productive and catering to everyone else's needs. Alcohol works. We don't often say this out loud, but that's the long and the short of it. Alcohol works. If it didn't work, we wouldn't be drinking it. Alcohol slows down your nervous system, so you get that nice calming feeling of everything slowing down and softening. And at the same time, it produces those feel-good hormones like dopamine that make you feel more joyful and elated. And alcohol works fast. So if you're looking for a quick fix, there's no denying that alcohol is efficient in making you feel better, probably faster than any other tool you may have access to. And when you can remind yourself of that, you can see that you didn't pick up drinking because you were weak or reckless or self-destructive. You picked up drinking because alcohol gave you something you needed, whether that was comfort, relief, escape, or a sense of belonging. You reached for alcohol for the same reason that human beings have reached for numbing agents for thousands of years, namely because your nervous system needed a break. Alcohol solved the problem for you, so of course you drank it. If you don't acknowledge that, you're stuck in self-judgment and regret about your past. And like I've said many times, trying to shame yourself into drinking less simply doesn't work. All you're doing is creating a vicious loop where you're so mean to yourself that it feels terrible, and so then you end up wanting relief from the mean voice inside your head, and you turn to alcohol to provide that relief. Shame doesn't prevent drinking, it actually fuels more drinking. The tricky part is that sometimes judging our past selves feels productive. It gives us the illusion of control because if we can point a finger at ourselves, it feels like we're doing something about the problem. Beating ourselves up feels like a form of taking responsibility. But in reality, it's a way of avoiding the vulnerability underneath. It keeps you in a loop of self-punishment instead of learning and growing. You cannot bully yourself into self-trust, and you cannot hate yourself into healing and making better choices. I say this because I've tried. If self-criticism was a sport, I would be in the Olympics and I would have a medal. But it did not work to help me make better choices and to take care of myself. It wasn't until I started to have some compassion for myself and treat myself more kindly that I started to see real shifts. And let me tell you, it felt a lot better too to be nice to myself instead of yelling at myself constantly about what I should or should not have done in the past. So let's flip the script. Instead of wishing past you had made different choices, remind yourself that past you was doing their best to protect you. If your brain is telling you, I should have known better, I want you to hear this clearly. You couldn't have known better. Take a moment to acknowledge what you didn't know back then. For one thing, very few of us get any useful education on alcohol at all. We're just told, don't do it or drink responsibly. But almost no one is taught how alcohol affects us exactly, what happens with long-term drinking, how habits form, and all of that. So remind yourself that there's so many things that past you simply couldn't have known. Remind yourself of what you were facing at the time too, and why alcohol seemed like a good solution. Remind yourself that at the time, alcohol may have truly seemed like the only option. And therefore, choosing to drink was not stupid or irresponsible. It was actually really smart. It was your survival instinct kicking in and doing whatever needed to be done to keep you safe in that moment. That's not weakness and it's not being broken. That's your brain actually working exactly as it's supposed to work in order to keep you alive, which is its main mission and goal. Your brain is an excellent learner, and so it learned that alcohol works. And therefore, it keeps asking for alcohol because, at least for a while, alcohol continued to deliver what it promised. Whether that was temporary happiness, relief, relaxation, fun, the ability to let go and enjoy the moment, whatever it was, alcohol delivered, at least for a while. And of course, being grateful to your past self for doing what they could to keep you alive doesn't mean that you're brushing aside or making excuses for harmful behavior. It doesn't mean saying everything was fine or that there were no consequences to your drinking. You still get to take responsibility for the outcome of your actions. But when you acknowledge that past you did their best to keep you going, you stop wasting energy on regret and you can actually start learning from your past patterns instead of being too busy judging them. And that's what's going to help you move forward for real, learning from your past choices, which is really hard to do if you're stuck shaming yourself for what you did. One of the biggest transformations in changing your drinking is the identity shift. How you think about yourself and what you believe about yourself is the biggest determinant of your results. If you think I'm someone who drinks too much and I don't have enough willpower and I can't control myself around alcohol, guess what? You're going to act like someone who can't control themselves around alcohol. If you want to drink less, you have to claim that as your identity and keep reminding yourself that you're someone who is learning to make better choices around alcohol. And it's easier to step into a new identity when you're not at war with your old identity. Instead of trying to run away from your past self, you have to accept them and befriend them. You have to thank them for their service, for everything that they've done to get you here. The past you who was trying to survive trauma. The past you who was carrying way too much stress. The past you who was just trying to fit in. Welcome them in and thank them for finding something that worked, even if it was only a temporary solution. If you're so inclined, this is where you can spend some time untangling what alcohol was helping you to do. You can ask yourself, what did alcohol help me to cope with? What did drinking protect me from? What did it allow me to avoid or to soften? What was I afraid to feel or say or face? What did past me desperately need when they were reaching for the drink? And then ask yourself, what can I thank my past self for? Maybe you thank them for putting one foot in front of the other and keeping you afloat, for surviving something hard, for trying their best to fit in, for dealing with difficult emotions the best way they knew how. And again, showing gratitude doesn't mean making blanket excuses or pretending that your past decisions had no consequences. But when you can access gratitude, it allows you to let go truly. And letting go, in turn, allows you to move forward and make different choices for your future. So that's my invitation for you today. Instead of hiding from the version of you who developed a drinking habit that has maybe gotten out of hand and no longer serves you, instead of hating them and being mean to them, thank them for doing their best with the tools and the information that was available to them. Thank past you for surviving so that you could be here today, ready to choose something different. Because your past is not a predictor of your future. Only you get to decide what your future looks like, regardless of what your past looks like. And starting with gratitude and self-compassion will get you a lot further than shame and blame ever will. And if you want support with understanding your patterns, healing the emotional drivers behind your drinking, and learning new ways to meet your needs without alcohol, I would love to help you. This is a huge part of what we do in my private coaching. We explore what alcohol used to do for you, we teach your brain better alternatives, and we help you build the identity of someone who trusts themselves again and someone who always feels in control around alcohol. If you're ready for that next step, you can book a free consultation using the link in the show notes, and we will talk about what's going on for you and what you want instead, and how I can help you to become the person that you want to be. Thank you for listening, my friends. If you like what you hear, please go and leave a review of the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, because every review helps new listeners to find the podcast. And if you know someone who would benefit from listening to How to Drink Less, please send them a link to the show. Take good care, and I'll talk to you next week. If you're looking for practical advice for how to say no to alcohol and say yes to yourself, you will want to get on my email list. Sign up to receive my free guide with 7 steps to kickstart your sobriety. The link is in the show notes, so go and grab it now, and I'll see you soon in your inbox.